My name is Patricia Blos. I'm 28 years old, and I used to believe that love was something you could build through patience and trust that if you gave enough, you'd eventually be chosen. Turns out love isn't always a promise. Sometimes it's just a lesson written in someone else's handwriting. When I met Leo, he wasn't the loudest in the room. That's what drew me in. He was calm, funny, in that understated way, the kind of man who could make a grocery run feel like a date. He'd brush my hair out of my face when I spoke, listen like what I said actually mattered. I thought I'd finally found something real, something still. For 2 years, we built what looked like peace. Dinner nights, inside jokes, weekends that blurred into each other. Our friends used to call us the married couple, but I think somewhere along the way that title started to scare him. The change came quietly. He started hiding his phone screen, keeping his messages face down. I'd catch flashes of names I didn't recognize, followed by his thumb moving too fast to pretend it was casual. When I asked about it, he'd sigh. "You're overthinking again, Patricia. You can't control every conversation I have." And I wanted to believe him. I really did, because the truth is I was tired of being the one who doubted while he played calm. I told myself that love meant giving the benefit of the doubt even when it hurt. Then came Riley's birthday party the night that rewired everything. Leo had been talking about it all week. Everyone's going to be there, he'd said. Diana's planning some surprise. Diana. That name had started showing up too often lately. She was the effortlessly charming type, bold laugh, constant touch, the kind of woman who made her presence feel like a performance. That night, Leo dressed up like it mattered. White shirt, rolled sleeves, cologne. I hadn't smelled since our anniversary. When I asked who he was trying to impress, he smirked. "Relax, you're coming too." He said it like it was a joke, but the laugh didn't reach his eyes. The party was packed, music, laughter, everyone drinking more than they should. I stuck close to Riley and the others while Leo drifted off into a sea of people. A few minutes later, I saw him across the room, Diana's hand on his arm, his head bent close to hers, both laughing like the rest of us had disappeared. For a second, I froze. Then instinctively, I smiled at nothing. That's what women do when they don't want anyone to see them break, they smile. A friend, Naomi, leaned closer. "You okay?" I nodded. "Yeah, just tired." But I wasn't tired. I was humiliated. I watched him all night. Every small touch, every whisper between them. He looked younger, freer, like I'd been the weight he'd just set down. Later in the kitchen, I found him pouring Diana another drink, his hand brushing hers. My voice came out steady, even though my chest was burning. "I'm heading home soon," I said. "Work tomorrow." He didn't even turn right away. "Already, it's barely midnight." "Yeah, I've been up since 5. You coming?" He looked at Diana, then back at me. "I'll catch a ride later. Don't be such a mom, Patricia." The word mom hit like a slap. Patronizing, dismissive, said with a smirk that told me I wasn't worth taking seriously. So I smiled again, the kind that hides pain behind grace. "Sure, have fun." I left quietly, not wanting to give him the satisfaction of a scene. The cab ride home was a blur of neon lights and replayed memories. Every "I love you" that had sounded so steady now felt rehearsed. When I got home, I sat on the couch staring at my phone. No messages. Not a single one. I told myself he'd text soon, that maybe I'd overreacted, but the silence stretched. Midnight passed. Then 1, then 2. By the time the sun came up, my phone was still blank. That's when I felt it, that dull ache of knowing someone's choice before they admit it. At 10:47 a.m., my phone buzzed. One message, 4 words. "It just happened. I'm sorry." For a second, I couldn't breathe. I kept waiting for another text, something to explain, to make sense of it. But nothing came. Just those 4 words, small and cruel, like a door slamming shut. I typed one word back. "Okay." Then I blocked his number, blocked his Instagram, his messages, his everything. And then I just sat there. No crying, no yelling. Just stillness. I looked around my apartment, our photos still framed on the shelf, the sweater he'd left draped over the chair, his toothbrush next to mine. Every trace of him looked foreign now. People talk about heartbreak like it's a storm, loud, chaotic, devastating. But the truth is, it's quiet. It's the sound of a message notification that doesn't come. It's the silence after a laugh you can still hear in your head. That afternoon, Naomi called. Her voice was hesitant. "Patricia, I don't know how to say this, but Leo left the party with Diana last night." I let out a slow breath. "Yeah," I said softly. "I figured." "Everyone's talking about it. She's telling people it just happened. Like it was a mistake. Let her," I said. Mistakes have a funny way of repeating themselves. After we hung up, I went through my photos, the vacations, the selfies, the blurry coffee shop pictures. Every moment that once felt eternal. Delete, delete, delete. Not out of anger, out of clarity. When the screen finally went black, I whispered to myself. He left a party with her. I left his life with peace. That night, for the first time in weeks, I slept without refreshing my phone. And when I woke up the next morning, I didn't check for messages. I didn't hope. I didn't hurt. I just breathed. Because sometimes the end doesn't sound like goodbye. It sounds like silence. And silence, when you've been lied to long enough, feels like freedom. There's a strange kind of quiet that follows betrayal. It's not peace, not yet. It's more like when a storm has passed and the air still smells like lightning. You can breathe, but every inhale still burns. That first week without Leo felt like detox. Every morning my fingers would twitch toward my phone muscle memory, reaching for what was no longer there. His messages gone, his name erased. But my body hadn't caught up yet. It still expected him. Deleting him from my phone was easy. Deleting him from my thoughts was war. I spent hours cleaning my apartment as if scrubbing the surfaces could erase his voice from the walls. His cologne still lingered in the hallway, the ghost of something I used to find comforting. Now it just made me nauseous. When I threw away the toothbrush he left behind, I stared at it for a full minute before dropping it in the trash. Not because I missed him, but because I hated how small it felt the end of 2 years reduced to a cheap plastic reminder. The worst part wasn't missing him. It was missing who I thought he was. By the second week, the silence started to shift. That's when the whispers began, screenshots, tags, updates I never asked for. A mutual friend, Naomi, sent me a screenshot one morning. Leo and Diana were tagged at a brunch place downtown. All smiles, the caption reading, "New beginnings are scary, but worth it." The post had over 200 likes. My stomach sank, not from jealousy, from disgust. He looked so proud of himself, like betrayal was an achievement, like happiness could be rebuilt from someone else's wreckage. Naomi called a few minutes later. "I didn't want to show you," she said softly, "but I thought you'd rather see than hear it from someone else." "It's fine," I said. "People post what they need to believe." "He looks different," she murmured, "like he's performing." "That's all he ever did," I replied. I told her I was done looking, and I meant it, at least until I opened Instagram that night. Even though I'd blocked him, his reflection leaked through. Someone's tag story, a mutual's repost. Leo and Diana at a bar, dancing her lipstick, smudged his hands on her waist. The comments were full of heart emojis. Mine stayed empty. I stared for a long time, not out of longing, but because I couldn't recognize the man in the photo. He looked like a stranger wearing Leo's face. Work helped. For a while. I threw myself into projects, staying late, volunteering for every deadline. Coworkers joked that I'd become married to my job. They didn't know the truth. I was avoiding coming home to silence. One night around 11 p.m., I found myself scrolling again, not through his profile, but through our old texts I'd screenshotted before deleting him. Messages from when things were still good. "You make me want to be better. You're the only calm I've ever known. I can't imagine life without you." Funny how people can write poetry one month and betrayal the next. I deleted the folder, this time for real. Weeks passed. The gossip didn't. Mutual friends would drop casual mentions. "Oh, I ran into Leo and Diana last night," or "They seem really happy." I'd nod, smile, and change the subject. But it chipped away at me, that constant reminder that he was thriving while I was relearning how to breathe. One evening, Riley, the same friend whose party started all this, called me out of nowhere. "Hey, just checking on you. Haven't seen you around." "I'm fine," I said. "You sure?" "Because I saw them last night." I wanted to punch him. "Don't," I said. "He's not worth the bruise." We laughed, but it didn't feel funny. The truth is, I wasn't angry anymore, just hollow. That night, I sat by the window lights off City humming outside, and I whispered to myself, "He's living the life I thought we'd share." Then I paused, realizing something. He wasn't, because I would never have built something that shallow. By the next month, the ache dulled into something else, acceptance maybe. I started running in the mornings, joined a yoga class, stopped checking my phone every 5 minutes. But the universe has a cruel sense of humor. Just when I started to feel free, Leo's face found its way back to me in a sponsored post of all things. A photo of him and Diana at the same beach we once visited. Same pose, same angle. Her wearing the sunglasses I'd bought him for his birthday. The caption read, "Sometimes love is about timing." I laughed loud and bitter. Timing. As if betrayal was just a scheduling error. It was that night I decided to delete social media altogether. Every platform. Gone. I didn't announce it. I didn't owe anyone an explanation. I just disappeared. The next morning, my phone stayed silent. No notifications, no updates, no echoes of him. It felt terrifying at first, like erasing the last tether between me and the world. But then, something unexpected happened. By afternoon, I felt light, like a fog had lifted. For the first time in months, my reflection in the mirror looked like someone I recognized. My eyes weren't red from crying. My skin wasn't dull from exhaustion. There was still pain, yes, but it was quieter now, less sharp, almost gentle. I made tea, opened my window, and watched the city breathe. And for the first time since Leo's message, I felt a flicker of something that almost scared me peace. Because sometimes healing isn't fireworks or revelation. It's silence. It's deleting the past without looking back. It's realizing that you can miss someone and still be grateful they're gone. That night before bed, I wrote one sentence in my journal. You don't unlove someone by blocking them. You just give your pain a room to breathe. Then I turned off my light, laid back, and slept soundly. No phone on the nightstand, no ghost in my chest, just the quiet. It had been almost 3 months since Leo's text those 4 words that cracked something open in me and let all the light out. I wasn't over it, but I was past the crying part, past the bargaining and the what-ifs, until Karma decided to log in. It started on a Thursday night. I was at the gym earbuds and zoning out to some upbeat playlist that was supposed to make me feel powerful, but mostly just drowned out the noise in my head. My phone buzzed on the treadmill tray. 3 missed calls from Naomi, then a 4th, and a message that read, "Check Dylan's post, now." My stomach tightened. I opened Instagram. The first thing I saw was Leo's face. He was sitting at a bar alone, a drink in hand. The caption wasn't subtle. Lesson learned, if they cheat with you, they'll cheat on you. I froze mid-stride. The comments section was a wildfire, half laughing, half pretending to be shocked. The post was barely an hour old, but the damage was already done. Screenshots were flying everywhere. I didn't comment. I didn't even like it. I just locked my phone and finished my workout because I knew what came next, the downfall. By the next morning, the story had spread. Apparently, Leo and Diana had imploded spectacularly. Something about him flirting with a woman from his gym DMs discovered a shouting match in the parking lot. Someone filmed it. Naomi sent me the video even though I told her not to. I watched it once. Diana was standing in front of Leo's building, mascara streaked down her face, screaming. You said I was different, while he laughed and filmed her with his phone. The video made me sick, not because of her humiliation, but because I recognized that tone, that wild disbelief. I'd once been the woman begging him to look me in the eye. I didn't feel happy watching it, not even vindicated, just done. I deleted the video immediately, then went for a walk. The air felt heavy, like the city itself was holding its breath. Karma doesn't always come roaring. Sometimes it arrives quietly wrapped in irony. I found myself whispering under my breath. You didn't have to destroy him, Patricia. He did that all by himself. Over the next few days, Leo's online life collapsed like a poorly built stage set. All the couple photos disappeared. His account went private. His posts about new beginnings were gone. Mutual friends started sending me updates without asking if I wanted them. He's been telling people she was too emotional. They say he's been staying with his cousin now. Diana's deleted everything. It's like they never existed. Each message was laced with quiet satisfaction, like everyone had been waiting for the curtain to fall. But I didn't reply, because the truth was I didn't care anymore. A few days later, I ran into Riley at a cafe. The same Riley whose birthday party had started all of this. He looked uneasy when he spotted me. Hey, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. You've heard about all that? Yeah, I said, stirring my coffee. Hard to miss. You're not going to lie, you're handling this way better than most people would. Maybe that's the point, I said. I'm not most people. He laughed nervously. Diana's a mess. Everyone's avoiding Leo now. Guess they finally saw what you meant. I looked out the window. I didn't need them to. I just needed to stop proving it. That night, I scrolled through my phone one last time. Not to check on him, but to remind myself how far I'd come. I found an old note I'd written months before when everything still hurt. He'll regret it someday. He'll know what he lost. I deleted that too, because it no longer mattered if he did. Sometimes healing isn't about waiting for someone's apology. It's realizing you no longer need it. A week later, Naomi called again. You won't believe this, she said between laughs. Leo posted some quote about self-growth and accountability. Everyone's dragging him in the comments. What's the quote, I asked. Something like, people change when they lose what they took for granted. I smiled. Maybe he's learning. Do you believe that, she asked? No, I said. but I believe karma keeps good notes. That night, I dreamed of the beach we once went to. Except this time I was standing there alone, watching the tide erase every footprint he'd ever left beside mine. When I woke up, I didn't cry. I didn't check my phone. I just stretched, made coffee, and smiled. Because the thing about karma is, it doesn't ask for your permission. It just shows up right on time. And for the first time since he left, I realized I didn't want revenge. I wanted distance. Months later, I ran into one of Leo's old friends at the grocery store. He looked uncomfortable when he saw me shifting his cart awkwardly. Patricia, hey, I heard about everything that happened with Leo and Diana. Yeah, I just wanted to say, you dodged a bullet. Everyone sees it now. Took them long enough, I said with a small laugh. He smiled, then added quietly, he's been different, not in a good way. Drinks too much, blames everyone else. He keeps saying you're the one person who never fought dirty. That stopped me. Not because I cared, but because it was true. I never fought dirty. I never had to. Silence was the sharpest weapon I ever used. I nodded, thanked him, and walked away. In the parking lot, I looked up at the sky, exhaled, and whispered, karma posts first, but peace always gets the final word. By the time Leo's apology found its way to me, I'd already stopped waiting for one. It started subtly a message request from a name I didn't recognize, Caleb H. No profile photo. No posts. Just a single message. I know you probably hate me, but please hear me out. I didn't need to. The rhythm of those words, the guilt folded inside them, it was Leo's voice hiding behind someone else's name. I blocked it. Within a day, another account appeared. Then another. Each one more desperate than the last. The tone shifted with each attempt: regret, self-pity, guilt, anger. One message read, I'm sorry, Patricia, I was stupid. You didn't deserve any of that. The next one said, you think you're perfect, you're not. You just gave up too fast. I stared at that one for a long moment before blocking it too. Because in that sentence, he told me everything I'd ever needed to know, that he still thought love was something to win, not something to nurture. It didn't take long for our mutual friends to get pulled into his orbit. Naomi called first, her voice soft, hesitant. He's been reaching out, she said, to a lot of people, asking about you. What does he want? Closure, I think. Or forgiveness. Maybe both. He already got closure, I said. It came with a period and a block button. She was quiet for a second before whispering, you sound stronger now. No, I said, just tired of performing weakness. The following week, Riley texted me, hey, just a heads up. Leo's going to be at the get-together next weekend. I didn't invite him. Naomi did. You okay with that? I hesitated, staring at the message. I was okay, but okay didn't mean comfortable. I'll come, I replied. I don't hide anymore. Still, the thought of seeing him again after months of silence sent a low hum of anxiety through my chest. Not because I wanted him back, because I didn't, and that somehow felt heavier. The night of the gathering, I took my time getting ready, not to impress anyone, just to remind myself that I still could. A soft cream blouse, minimal makeup, the faintest trace of perfume I used to love, but had stopped wearing because it reminded me of him. When I arrived, the air was warm, the sound of laughter spilling through the open patio doors. I could hear his voice before I saw him, that familiar cadence that used to make me feel seen. He was by the grill, beer in hand, laughing at something Riley said. But when our eyes met, the sound died. For a moment, it was like no one else existed. He looked smaller somehow, not physically, but in presence. The confidence that used to draw every gaze had dulled into something brittle. He opened his mouth as if to speak, but I turned away first. Because not every silence is weakness, some are survival. Halfway through the night, Naomi nudged me. He keeps looking over, she whispered. Let him, I said. It's the least he's earned. Later, as I stood near the kitchen refilling my drink, I heard his voice behind me. Patricia. Just my name. No apology yet, no excuses. Just the sound of him testing if he still had permission to say it. I turned slowly. Hi. He looked unsure, like the ground beneath him wasn't solid anymore. You look good, he said. So do you, I replied, because lying was easier than reopening anything real. He shifted, rubbed the back of his neck. I've tried reaching out. I wanted to explain you already did, I interrupted softly, with 4 words. He blinked, realizing. It just happened. I made mistakes, he said quickly. I know that. But everything that happened after, I didn't think it would destroy everything. You didn't think I corrected. That was the problem. He swallowed, eyes flicking away. I miss what we had. You miss who I was when I still believed you, I said. That version of me doesn't exist anymore. Silence stretched between us, not awkward, just honest. He sighed, voice breaking slightly. You really won't even talk to me. Everyone's turned against me. I've lost everything. That's not my fault, I said quietly. You burned the bridge. I just stopped standing on it. He opened his mouth again, but I shook my head. Don't apologize because you're lonely, Leo. Apologize when you understand. And then I walked away. Naomi found me outside later, sitting alone under the porch light. You okay? She asked. Yeah, I said. For the first time, I actually am. I looked back through the window, Leo still standing there, staring at the floor. And for the first time, I didn't feel pity. Just distance, the healthy kind. That night after I got home, there was one new message request waiting for me. No profile picture, no name, just a single sentence. I don't expect forgiveness. I just hope you're happy. I didn't reply. Because I was. Not in the loud, cinematic way people post about, but in the quiet way you only recognize after surviving chaos. I closed the message, put my phone face down, and turned off the light. As I lay there, I realized something simple, something final. Silence isn't about punishing someone. It's about reclaiming yourself. And in that silence, I slept without dreams. By the time I saw Leo again, it wasn't heartbreak I felt. It was distance, the kind you can't measure in miles, only in growth. Months had passed since that night at Riley's house. The messages had stopped. The fake accounts had gone quiet. Even the whispers from friends had faded into silence. Life had rearranged itself around the absence of him. I'd started painting again. I went on hikes, joined a book club, even said yes to spontaneous plans, things I'd forgotten how to do when my world revolved around someone else's moods. Peace had become my new routine. And then one ordinary Saturday, the universe decided to test it. Riley's text came in that morning. Barbecue at mine tonight. Chill small crowd. You should come. I almost said no. I'd grown comfortable avoiding these gatherings, too many shared faces, too many ghosts. But something in me whispered, you're not running anymore. So I said yes. When I arrived, the evening was warm, the scent of grilled food hanging in the air, laughter spilling across the backyard. I greeted everyone, hugged, Naomi grabbed a drink, and that's when I saw him. Leo, standing near the fence, half in shadow, half pretending to be fine. He looked thinner. His hair was longer, his posture smaller, but the biggest difference was in his eyes. They weren't defiant anymore. They were tired. For a moment, our gazes met, brief, unintentional. I gave a polite nod and turned away. I wasn't cold, I was calm. There's a difference. The night moved on. Conversations flowed around me, light and easy. Every once in a while, I'd catch Leo watching, not in longing, but in guilt. Naomi leaned close and whispered, He's been quiet all night. I think he came just to see you. Then he'll leave disappointed, I said with a small smile. By the time people started leaving, the sky had turned deep blue. The crowd thinned until only a few of us were left, Riley, Naomi, and Leo, lingering like a shadow that refused to fade. I excused myself to grab my jacket from inside. As I stepped back out, I heard his voice. Patricia. That same tone again. Hesitant, uncertain, human. I turned slowly, meeting his gaze under the dim porch light. Hi, I said simply. He stepped closer, hands shoved into his pockets. Can we talk just for a minute? Sure, I said. 1 minute. He took a deep breath. I don't even know where to start, he said. Everything's been falling apart. Diana's gone. My job? I messed that up too. And everywhere I go, people look at me differently. I stayed silent, waiting. I've had time to think, he continued. About us. About how good it was, how much I ruined. I could hear the regret in his voice, but it wasn't enough to soften me. Because regret, after destruction, isn't love. It's memory. Trying to rewrite history. I was stupid, he said. I thought you'd always be there. I thought I could come back whenever I wanted, and you'd still. Forgive you, I interrupted gently. You thought wrong. He blinked, taken aback by the calmness in my tone. You're angry. I get it. I'm not angry, I said. If I was, you'd still have power. What I feel now, it's just distance. He looked down, voice shaking slightly. You really mean that? Yes, I said. I don't hate you, Leo. I just don't carry you anymore. He nodded slowly, his eyes glossy under the light. I wanted to say I'm sorry, he whispered. I know I said softly. But some apologies come after the part where they matter. He exhaled shakily as if the weight of the conversation pressed on his ribs. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, he said. And I didn't realize it until too late. For a moment, I almost pitied him. But pity is not love, and forgiveness is not a reunion. You didn't lose me because you made a mistake, I said. You lost me because you kept choosing the same mistake until I stopped waiting for you to change. He looked at me like he wanted to say more, but the words never came. So I smiled, not out of cruelty, but closure. "Take care of yourself," I said quietly. Then I walked away. As I stepped out into the street, the night felt strangely still. No music, no voices, just the hum of crickets and the echo of my own footsteps. I didn't look back. Because closure doesn't always come from understanding someone else. Sometimes it's just knowing when to stop explaining yourself. When I reached my car, I took one last breath of that heavy summer air, the kind that smells like endings. And I whispered to the quiet. He left a party saying it just happened. And when I finally stopped waiting to understand him, peace just happened. I smiled then, not the polite one I used to wear to hide pain, a real one, soft and certain. Because for the first time in years, my story didn't revolve around him. It revolved around me. It's been nearly a year since Leo's name stopped echoing in my life. And sometimes when people ask if I've moved on, I don't know how to answer. Because moving on sounds like forgetting, and I didn't forget. I just stopped bleeding. My days look different now. Mornings begin with sunlight instead of anxiety. I make coffee without checking my phone first. The quiet that used to terrify me now feels sacred. I paint again messy, imperfect pieces that no one will ever see. It's not about art. It's about reclaiming color in a life that used to be grayscale. Sometimes Naomi visits, brings pastries, and updates about our old circle. I always listen with a smile, but inside those stories feel like they belong to another lifetime. Last week, she mentioned casually, "Leo moved out of the city." I just nodded. No sting, no curiosity, just nothing. And that nothing felt like peace. One evening, I walked to the same beach Leo and I used to visit, the one that had been off limits in my mind for so long. The waves sounded the same, but everything else had changed. I sat in the sand until sunset, letting the wind sting my cheeks. And for the first time, I didn't replay the past. I didn't imagine him next to me. I didn't search for meaning in the water. I just existed. Healing doesn't announce itself with trumpets. It sneaks in quietly in the way your heart doesn't race when their name appears, in the way old photos stop hurting, in the way laughter returns without guilt. I used to think I needed closure from him, an explanation, a reason, an apology, wrapped in sincerity. But now I understand closure was never something he could give. It was something I had to grow into. And I did. Sometimes I wonder what I'd say if I saw him again. Would I be polite? Cold and different? The truth is, I don't think I'd say anything. Because silence was the first language I learned after him, and it taught me everything words never could. A few nights ago, I was scrolling through my journal, the one I kept during those first weeks after the breakup. One entry stopped me cold. It said, "If I ever heal, I hope I still remember what it felt like to hurt. So I never take peace for granted." I smiled reading it, because I do remember. And that's why peace feels like a miracle. So no, I haven't moved on. I've moved forward slowly, deliberately, quietly. And maybe that's enough. Because moving on sounds like running from the past. Moving forward means carrying what you've learned and walking anyway. When people ask what happened with Leo, I just say, he was a lesson that arrived loud and left quietly. And when they ask if I'd do it all again, I say yes, because it led me here, to myself. Sometimes closure doesn't come from confrontation. It comes from a quiet morning months later when you realize you haven't thought about them once and the silence feels full instead of empty. He left a party saying, "It just happened." But so